Budget or pro pedal? The answer might seem obvious, but it doesn't mean that it is. In this video today, we're going to compare the pros and cons to using both. So this was the budget pedal, and now we're going to look at the spring tension. You can see that it hardly moves by being pressing it, but onto the pro pedal, you can see that it just goes forever. And I even have to stop it at some point. So here is the pro one. First of all, we're going to cover the pros and cons of using a budget pedal. We're going to come from a practical perspective rather than going into all the nuts and crannies, because really that's not what we're trying to gauge from when we're comparing two different pedals. We're trying to see, is this one going to work for me practically? So the first thing that I found recently is my own teaching is that students, especially who are just starting, found it really hard to play a budget pedal when it's broken. I know obviously it sounds obvious, but it really highlights an important part. It highlights the inaccuracies that are actually in their foot technique pedal. So what's happened is that at the end here it's come loose, which means that it's coming off. So the reason why I've got like this is because it's easier to see the dynamics of the pedal in play, in action. So when we want to play the pedal, we want to play it downwards like that. We're playing the pedal downwards means that the pedal beater moves forwards, but if we're sliding forwards, you can see the pedal doesn't actually move that well. It's very hard to shift it. So if you imagine this is off as well, it's just moving all over the place. Whereas if pressing down, at least I've got more control over it. Even then, it looks like it's doing that. So one benefit to that is actually playing with worse pedals, because it highlights potential inaccuracies that are in your playing, especially if you're playing with a more advanced pedal. Or advanced pedal basically means it's better built and it doesn't do any of this wobbling sort of stuff. Another benefit is that if you're a beginner, what it means is that because there's less control over it, there's less you can do. So there's less you can do, and if you're starting out, it means that you, in a sense, have more control over what you're doing. It's only because as you develop where it starts to turn into a negative when the limited control limits you itself. So those are the three main practical elements that I think are really important to know when you're having a budget pedal, aside from everything else like the spring tension. That sort of thing is down to experimentation. But this now leads us on to pro pedals. Specifically, the pro pedal that I bought fairly recently, because I had, there's a long story behind it, but we don't need to go over that. So we can compare now to the DW9000. This is a pro pedal, and for obvious reasons, it's very well built. Unlike the Elasis one, it comes with a key. It's easier to put the clamp onto the actual drum hoop, because there's more space in between that. But practically speaking, it's very flexible. That's because of how it's built. Free floating rotator in the middle. It means that it doesn't matter where you hit it, whether you move down, whether you slide, it moves in pretty much the same direction. So the pro is that it's just amazing, right? You can't deny that. Downside to that is that it might be too much. So my advice from moving from a beginner or even intermediate to advanced is actually, instead of just making the big jump, go in the middle. So for example, there's an Iron Cobra. So that's a really good intermediate pedal, which isn't too slippy, but it also is sort of in between the budget range. There's also a Pearl Demonator, which is about £100. That's more towards the budget friendly, but it's still better than the latest one that I just showed you. So if you've been playing for 1 to 2 years, or maybe 3 years, the idea is that you would move gradually, little by little, from pedal to pedal, so that your technique can move with that. That's the main thing. The other pro, which is that I've just mentioned, is that it's much more flexible, is much stronger, and it's much more flexible in terms of what you can do, and it's not really much more to say to that, so you definitely have to try it for yourself. The only thing, which I've also mentioned just a minute ago, is that there might be too much tension. If it's too much tension, what I've done is I've actually loosened it to the minimum before it starts to creak a little bit. For me, I find that is just spot on. So overall, there's not really much negatives to the pros, but there is definitely a big negative if you're trying to jump from a pedal which isn't as well built to a really very well built pedal straight away. The alternative to 9000 is actually the 5000. I've definitely played that, and that's actually much easier to work with from the set go. This is a quick overview over why budget and pro pedals both have their benefits, but they also have their cons along with it. So I hope this video has been helpful for you, and what I'll do is I'll see you in a future video. Keep drumming!